Hello and welcome to round 3 of the SimRacingMania HYPERCAR World Series 2021 season here at the CHANG International Circuit in Thailand. This is the CHANG International Circuit, also known as the Buriram International Circuit due to alcohol laws and such like that. The CHANG International Circuit is sponsored by a brewery. Hence where it gets the name CHANG International Circuit from. However, today we are going to be taking the McLaren Senna HYPERCARs around this 4.5 kilometer 12 corner circuit. Currently, the in real life lap record for this circuit sits at a 1 minute 23.26. Set in 2019 during the Le Mans season. It will be curious to see how close these cars in the R-Factor 2 simulator get to the real-life Le Mans series car record. The drivers on track being very highly talented, also very fast, as we've seen in the previous 2 rounds. Last week down at Malaysia, there was obviously some R-Factor 2 issues due to a new update that had come out. The steps that have been taken to make sure that that doesn't happen again, or at least minimise the risk of that happening again, is rolling back to build 1122, which was more stable, and I think the build before the CTD issues started to occur. So, with hopes, today's race should be completely unaffected, as the first time's already coming in, a 122.907 for Cliff van der Ven. Giancarlo Torre, I wish it would give me, the full times. Giancarlo Torre with a 123.678. Richie Teppel, that time. Giancarlo Torre with a 123.789. Edo coming through with a 124.007. That doesn't seem right. Yeah, one thing I've learned is my timing is not having fun. Paul Holt, who we've just been following on with, setting a 124.364. We're now with Giuseppe Lapatiera for Arctic Racing, number 44 machine. Only half a tenth off in Sector 1, 3/10 off in Sector 2, but setting a personal best. So we'll see where he comes around the corner. He's currently 1.1 off the pace, with a 122.907 being the top time as it currently stands. As he comes across the line, 123.693. We can switch to Krzysztof Rosinski now, who's just started a flying lap. As we get the onboard camera, after having a little hang. Almost a tenth faster in Sector 1 for Krzysztof Rosinski, as he runs up the long straight after the hairpin on the run up to turn 4 and turn 5. Here we are going into turn 4, followed to turn 5. The cars seem to like getting a little bit unsettled through turn 4, as we see Rosinski getting the back out quite a bit. I think that might actually be the lap gone. So, session best through Sector 1, and now 1.1 off the pace through Sector 2. Obviously not what Krzysztof Rosinski would have wanted, as we can see the back getting out a bit more as we keep going around the track. Not sure if the circuit is really set for these cars. A few times being on and off camber. The track seeming to be quite nice with runoff area as well. I believe the story goes that the Buriram circuit was built, basically, it was built by designed by Herman Tilke. And as far as I could gather from reading a small history of the track earlier on, the person who commissioned it, as we're now on with Bernardi, wanted the brief to just be, make a grade 1 circuit, here's a bit of land. And that was at least the Cliff notes that I could get from the, from the small history that I read of the circuit. At this current minute in time as well, I can run through the top 15. Currently Van der Ven, followed by Tappel, Lapierre, Ettore, Edo, Bernardi, Rosinski, Fuldetta, Lane, Fisson, Holt, Van der Sterren, Van der Vin, Kamal and Pasella currently make up the top 16. I believe someone's just joined in the session because the game very much hung there. So as we have some time, we will go through the driver standings. Obviously, as we couldn't complete the race at Malaysia, there were no points awarded. So it's currently just based off of the points for the first race, which puts Lorenzo De Curtis in first place in the championship at the minute, followed by Liam Rance, Thomas Golab, Paul Holt, Antti Rassi, Michael Brooks, Riccardo Morelli, Giancarlo Lapadula, Shin Fisson, Giuseppe Pastore, Jos van der Sterren, Nicola Pastore, Dennis van der Ven, Christoph Rosinski, Ezra Arik, Richie Tappel, Mario Salvia, Adhi Safia, Iker Ahmed, Arctus Kamal, Dino Fuldetta, Luke Holland, Richard Brooks, Francesco Bernardi, Valerio Margarito, Manuel Pasella, Lorenzo Capellini, Rio Loho, Yuda Prasanta, and Antelio Mastro make up the top 30. The drivers that didn't finish that race being Pedro Coulis Gomez, Maximilian Pinter, Peter Lane, Jack Gordamania, Jonas Lagarson, Stefano Nadal, Massimilio Ferrari, Thomas Hotzel, Audi Denguevara, Giuseppe Lapierre, and Giancarlo Ettore. That is the complete sum up of the driver standings, all first to 41st. The team standings, as it currently is Satellite Racing with the drivers of Liam Rance and Curtis at 96 points, followed by Team Futa of Antti Rassi, Michael Brooks and Thomas Golab in second at 85. FRT with Dennis van der Ven, Richie Tappel and Paul Holt in third with 70 points. Team Shiba, Pastores, the two Pastores, Nicola and Giuseppe Pastore at 60 points. O4F, Christoph Rosinski, Jack Gordamania and Shin Fisson at 59 points. MRBS, Ezra Arik, R. Loho, Dengavara and Safia at 49 points. Naja Racing Italia in 7th place, driven by Lapadula as a sole driver at 34 points. Jatari Sim Racing, driven by Ahmed at 22 points. Simex Esports, driven by Holland at 19 points. JP Performance of Richard Brooks and Peter Lane at 18 points. In DBM, driven by Bernardi at 17. Arctic Racing, Giuseppe Lapierre and Manuel Pasella at 15 points. Tied with BBR Blue Bolt Racing of Capellini at 15 points as well. Tadluco Sim Sport, driven by Prasanta at 12 points, and that sums up every team that has currently scored points in the championship. So we have 27 drivers on the grid, with 5 minutes left in qualifying. We're currently on with Liam Rance, who was almost a tenth faster in the first sector, coming through just at a 123.3 on 5, putting him up to 4th place. Only around a tenth ahead of Thomas Golab, who will switch to now, who's coming through T5 here. I will also remember, I do read chat as the races go on. So if you have something you want to say to me, or you just want to talk to me, or even exchange some pleasantries, the chat is there, and I will be reading it as the race happens. For people who weren't here for the very start, the race itself is a 75-minute race. I believe the way R Factor 2 does the time is the same as things like the GT World Challenge of the last lap. The race is over, when the leader crosses the line with 0 seconds left on the timing screen, as now we are with Thomas Golab as he comes through T1, and then T2 somewhere in the middle here. You'll see a little kink in the road. There's T2, and now we run to turn 3. And turn 3 being the hairpin. Probably a very good spot for dives and maybe even some cutback moves, as Thomas Golab goes about 1.5 tenths off the pace through Sector 1, setting a personal best, however, which is always very good, through Turn 4. And then also Turn 5, you can see him waffling the car as it tries to get unstable over the curb. Capellini having gone into P1 for 122.894. Van der Veen only off of Capellini, and Bernardi only 2.5 tenths off of Capellini as well. So the top three at this current minute in time is very compressed. Thomas Golab actually setting the best Sector 2 time of 300ths off of Capellini's time. So we'll see whether he can slot the car into first place, or maybe even knock Dennis Van der Veen, off of position 2 provisionally. And across the line, it's a 123.3, so not quite fast enough to knock off Cliff Van der Veen, not Dennis Van der Veen, who's on and flying lap as well. Almost 2 tenths faster than Capellini in Sector 1, but losing a 1.5 tenths off of Sector 2. So we'll see how Cliff Van der Veen comes through Sector 3. He comes through the final corner, comes across the line, a 122.810. That puts Cliff Van der Veen on provisional pole position for the race, unless Capellini can come back with something. If anyone on the grid can come back with a faster lap than that, under a tenth separating first and second place of Cliff Van der Veen and Lorenzo Capellini. As we're now going to go trackside of Antti Rassi, who's just started a flying lap. We're currently 8 tenths off of pole position. We'll see how Antti Rassi can come through on this flying lap. Keep in mind, drivers now, 1 minute and 20 seconds left. Maybe not even enough time for drivers who have not exited the pits yet to actually come out on track, as Antti Rassi almost goes 3 tenths off the pace through Sector 1. The Chang circuit is actually quite interesting from a car setup point of view, at least in my opinion. You have the 2, 3, if you like, long straights. Then you have Turn 4, which, when I last did laps in a car around this, it was a BTCC cars. I could take it not even flat. I'm expecting with the downforce and grip that the McLaren hypercars have, that you can do that. As Antti Rassi goes 2 tenths faster through Sector 2. Antti Rassi only has to make up 2 tenths to get past Paul Holt. 2.5-ish tenths to get past Dennis Van der Veen. As he comes across the line, where's that going to put him? 123.086. That puts Antti Rassi solely in third position. Not many drivers actually out on track as it currently stands. The session has come to the end. One driver out on track in Lorenzo De Curtis, currently running P20. 4 tenths through Sector 1 he's lost. However, setting a personal best. Has around 3 to 4 tenths to make up to get past Pasella, and 5 tenths really to get past Kamal. So we'll see as he comes into the third sector, 0.02 in Sector 2. As he comes through turns 9, 10 and 11 on the run down to turn 12. We'll see. Might not be enough to challenge the top times as he goes very wide through the last corner. Across the line, a 124.3, which puts Lorenzo De Curtis, the final car to come across the line in the qualifying session, into 16th. Very respectable lap time from him, going from P20 to P16. Obviously one that I think Lorenzo De Curtis is going to be very happy with as well. Because now we're just going to wait for the server to switch over. No drivers are left out on track as far as I believe. 27 drivers on the grid for today's race. go, as we head into the 15-minute warm-up. Sorry, the 10-minute warm-up. Around there, so... Bizarre Factor 2 has a bit of loading lag. Here is the starting order for today's race. So starting off on pole position is Cliff van der Ven, followed by Lorenzo Capellini, Antti Rassi and Francesco Bernardi. The fifth place, Liam Rams, followed by Thomas Golab, Dennis van der Ven and Paul Holt. Richie Tapple, Giuseppe Lapatiera, Giancarlo Attore and Reynaldi Edo make up 9th, 10th, 11th and 12th. Christoph Rosinski in 13th, Dino Fordetta in 14th, Peter Lane 15th and Lorenzo De Curtis in 16th. 17th went to Jin Fissen, followed by Jos van der Sterren, Arcturus Kamal and Manuel Pasella. Stefano de Nadal slots into 21st, Mario Salvia 22nd, Yuda Prasanta 23rd, and Jack Gordamania in 24th. Richard Brooks takes 25th, Valerio Margarito takes 26th, and Antonello Mastro takes 27th. So that is today's starting order for the 75-minute, maybe plus 1 lap race here at the CHANG International Circuit. That's the wrong driver box, thank you very much. One thing I always found interesting, I'll see if I can... Can't really do it. Chang has 2 pit lanes as it holds MotoGP races, which some I think are started from the pit lane. One thing that I have noticed through every race that I've... every sim race that I've watched or commentated on at this track is that drivers, as a pit lane, you have a straight one and it banks off left and also straight. Some drivers choose to go left into the left-hand lane at the pit lane, and some drivers continue to go straight on. While there's no actual signage on what one's correct, I just think it's really interesting that there's 2 pit lanes and there's no sign or no marker somewhere that shows what one actually to use. I always find very interesting. So the drivers are now being able to set themselves up for the 75-minute race. Keep in mind with the SimRacingMania HYPERCAR World Series that there is Parc Ferme rules. I believe this extends to setup, tyres and also fuel that you qualified with. So drivers may be choosing to run the cars lighter in fuel, might only be running a half fuel setup, so they'll have to refuel in the pit stops. Some drivers may be running the full fuel for the race, so all they have to do in the pit stop is change tyres. It's a possibility. There's many possibilities on how it can run. Over the Chang circuit having a good variety of corners to actually supply us with what I believe will be very close racing today. The track has six to the right and 6 to the left if we count turn 2, which is that little tiny kink along the straight between turns 1 and 3. It's almost like the Red Bull Ring scenario of turn 2, where some people believe it is a corner, some people don't. It's quite a hard one to choose, because all it is just a little bump in the road. As we are with Lorenzo Capellini, one driver who I believe is quite high up the driver's standings. At least I think he was quite close up to the front of the field, as he's apparently 5th, not 15th, sorry. Apparently 27th in the standings so far, 15 points. as I believe Peter Lane there gets a bit collected into turn 12, has to take evasive action off of the circuit. One thing that I do like about the Chang circuit as well is there's a lot of runoff, which is a good thing in disguise. I mean, you're not immortal from the walls. The speed these cars are taking, if you do have a bad enough collision, I think it might be quite hard to slow the car down in time before avoiding walls, especially on the exit of the of turn 3, as Peter Lane has just gone through now. Quite an easy place, I think, to be able to get into a tussle, especially if you're going for an undercut or maybe even a move up the inside or even around the outside. Drivers maybe wanting to let the car drift towards the curb on the outside instead, as we'll watch Arcturus Kamal go through it. But maybe if you got the inside, you want to let the car drift out to the curb instead. And if there's someone on the outside you haven't noticed, or even if someone's just got a great run around the outside on you, and they weren't there a second ago, but they are now, it does seem quite easy to tap the rear of someone out of turn 3, depending on, obviously, if you're battling with someone into the turn. Though turn 3 is definitely going to be one to watch, as hairpins like that, or just sort of long U-turns like that, really, allow for an amazing ability to either abuse the idea of a driver taking a later apex by going up the inside and defending that apex through the corner, or even going in wider if the driver in front's taking an earlier apex to try and cut back with a later apex up the straight. I mean, the amount of overtakes you can get over a hairpin are innumerable. You know, you can go in wide, you can go in deep, you can go in middle. I was like, hello, Togia. Togia. I think that's Togia, but correct me if I'm wrong. So we've got 3 minutes left of warm-up. As the times in warm-up are starting to come in. Some drivers, I think, not always wanting to partake in the warm-up. It's not a not a requirement. Also, it's not really... Some drivers might be preferring to have a drink before the race. Some drivers might, you know, just go and do something else during the warm-up. It's completely up to the drivers what they want to do during the warm-up. I know myself, during warm-up sessions, I either use it to have an absolute, like, swimming pool's worth of liquid, so then I don't have to get dehydrated during a race, or even maybe just... One thing I used to do was actually have a banana. That's that release energy helps during endurance racing, but I'm not sure if anyone's had a banana on the grid today before the race, as we're with Richard Brooks, the number 69 Flame Machine, I think that looks like. Who just has somebody send it completely up the inside. Unlucky Richard. So a minute and 40 seconds left in the warm-up session. I'm going to have a quick drink, and I will be back for the start of the race. So I'm going to mute my microphone for now, and I will return in about a minute. So here we are at the start of today's race at the CHANG International Circuit here for the SimRacingMania HYPERCAR World Series 2021. As has been standard with the series, to avoid turn 1 pile-ups at the green light, the drivers will line up in single file at the stop, at the end point, of turn 3. Before the DRS line is when the drivers will be released. Their race starts as they go across that line. As Yuda Prasanta gets a penalty. I think it might have been cleared. Yeah, so we're currently with Antirassi. And we switch to Paul Holt. As the drivers start to come into the hairpin. Keep in mind, as the drivers get past the DRS line at the end of the hairpin, this DRS line here, they can start the race. Remember, it's up to each driver to decide. So, and the drivers are away. Van der Veen. Drivers are now getting away up towards turn 4 and 5. I believe some drivers, I think, not fully noticing what's occurring, as we're with Jack Gordemania up through T4 and T5, as Jack Gordemania and the car behind him go a bit wide on the exit of turn 5. Jack Gordemania currently being chased down by Yuda Prasanta, with Richard Brooks chasing down Prasanta as well. Van der Veen already having pulled a 1 second gap between himself and Lorenzo Capellini. Now with Giuseppe Lapierre. He comes down past turn 2 there, the little bump in the road. Back now with Krzysztof Rosinski. Got a bit of a train of cars behind him. As we see some lockups happening, can also see in the background. Oh, as Peter Lane almost has a look up the inside. And as well, Shin Fissen is defending from Jos van der Sterren. As they run up to turn 4, Octus Kamal also in the background, having attacked Manuel Pasella, who's still there behind. Through sector 2, this is Liam Rance, the light blue machine currently running in P4, chasing down Antirassi with Francesco Bernardi behind as well. You can see the gap not being very far between the two drivers. Best lap has now been set by Cliff Van der Veen of a 1:23.19. We're now with Manuel Pasella. Runs down towards turn 12. You can see in the back, you can see in the foreground, Shin Fissen still being attacked by Jos van der Sterren. Also in front, Rosinski, De Curtis and Lane at the same time, as there is a yellow flag in sector 1. Not sure if anything's occurred there up into the chicane, up into the hairpin, sorry, or if it was just someone going off, because the flag got cleared pretty quickly, as we now are with Shin Fissen chasing down the back of Krzysztof Rosinski. Top 3 are still Van der Veen, Capellini and Antirassi. Oh, it's Jinfisson almost manages to look up the inside on Krzysztof Rosinski. You can see Rosinski defending the apexes. Jinfisson having dropped back by half a second as they run up towards turn 8. The gap now down to 3/4 tenths around that region as they go through turn 9. Also turn 10 and turn 11. Antti Rassi setting now the best time for 1:23.057. Towards turn 12. Jinfisson going for as much curb as possible. I think by the look of it, Krzysztof Rosinski got a better run out of the corner up towards turn 1. You can also see ahead, it looks like Peter Lane has pulled a bit of a gap between himself and Lorenzo De Curtis. Yet he has about 8 tenths. However, we know the slipstream in these cars is strong, as they are now at the hairpin. Jinfisson looking up the inside. Is he going to make it work as they go too wide towards the straight after turn 3? They're still side by side. Jinfisson having the edge on Krzysztof Rosinski. No, he doesn't. Krzysztof Rosinski getting the inside line of turn 4. Jinfisson managing to go out the outside. Gets ahead for now. However, Krzysztof Rosinski has been opened up to Jos van der Sterren behind in that green and black machine as well. But for now, Jinfisson has made the move work on Krzysztof Rosinski. Having been following for, I think, the previous 2 laps, I think that's a move Jinfisson is going to be quite happy with, as now we're with Giancarlo Ettore, who is on the back of Rinaldi Edo up towards turn 12 as they head across the start-finish line. We are now on board with Giacomo Ettore as they head through turn 1. You can see Edo has taken a lot more curb on the inside. Also seems to get a better getaway from turn 1. Giacomo Ettore having now dropped behind by about 7 tenths. Is almost up the inside into the hairpin as we get pushed to Manuel Pasella. Now we're back with Rinaldi Aldo and Giacomo Ettore. Ettore not having gotten the move up into the hairpin. Moving back, Peter Lane. Jinfisson still ahead of Krzysztof Rosinski. You can also see ahead, Lorenzo De Curtis has actually gotten the gap down now to under 4 tenths, almost under 3 tenths, as they head through turn 8. Very close to the rear of that car. The gap now being 4 tenths as they head through 9, 10 and 11. This bit's turn 9. That bit's turn 11. Turn 10 is in the middle somewhere as they run up to turn 12. Lorenzo De Curtis maybe looking to get a cut back. Both drivers taking quite a bit of curb on the outside as they run down towards turn 1. As we get the rear wing camera. Lorenzo De Curtis maybe now able to look down the inside as Peter Lane defends the inside. Real Stonewall defence, forcing Lorenzo De Curtis round the outside, who actually goes off the track, opening himself up now to Jinfisson and Krzysztof Rosinski, as well as Jos van der Sterren in the background. So now Lorenzo De Curtis almost losing the back out of turn 4 completely, having Jinfisson and Krzysztof Rosinski following from behind. See Krzysztof Rosinski all over the rear of Jinfisson, who is also all over the rear of Lorenzo De Curtis, as he gets the rear out quite a bit. A 4-car battle for 14th position. However, you can see that the 2 cars ahead of Peter Lane and De Curtis are getting away quite quickly, but not as they go into turn 12. Almost some contact there as Peter Lane goes to the middle of the track, maybe in an attempt to defend the inside if he had to. He doesn't have to, so he goes back to the outside as they go through turn 1. Both drivers taking quite a bit of curb now. Down the first straight. Possibly a good chance into the hairpin for Jin Fisson against De Curtis. Maybe a good chance in the hairpin for De Curtis as well as he looks down the inside. But no, Peter Lane still defending the inside of the hairpin quite heavily. Jin Fisson very close to the rear, only 2/10. Which, as we know in these cars, is not far at all. It's Jin Fisson all over the rear of Lorenzo De Curtis. Through T10, Krzysztof Rosinski goes round as well. Everyone behind him thankfully avoids the collision. But honestly, I think that might have been bound to happen. Because we could see through the previous laps that Krzysztof Rosinski was getting the back very loose through most of the corners in Sector 2. So maybe that was just one that was bound to happen. Maybe as a setup choice to prioritise top speed over cornering ability. Obviously to be straight between turn 1 and 3 having quite a lot of distance. Also seeing as the minute you get out of the hairpin, which is a slow speed corner, you're back on another straight and maybe even a flat left-hander of turn 4. As also Prasanta has been disqualified from the session. So the first 10 minutes have gone past as it currently stands. As we're now with Richie Teppel, you can see many cars behind of Lapierre, Edo, Ettore and Fundetta. Also in the background, maybe appearing soon, are the cars of Peter Lane. And Lorenzo De Curtis, Jin Fisson and Josmander Sterren. As now we see Rinaldi Edo all over the rear of Lapierre. Only 2/10 off of it as Jin Fisson picks up a penalty. Not sure what that's for. Maybe track limits. Let's see if I can get some more information on that penalty as a gap for Rinaldi Edo. Gets moved down. Not sure what the penalty was for Jin Fisson. I'm going to expect it's a drive-through penalty, however, maybe for track limits, as the drivers have been warned about track limits. This track apparently being a bit strict on the track limits overall, which is always good to see. Obviously, as a racing driver, either in the sim world or the real world, you want to use as much of the track as possible. If you can use the ribbon to gain those extra temps, then obviously you're going to want to do it. As we're now with Paul Holt, currently P7, chasing the rear of Thomas Golab. Only about 6 or 7 temps as Francesco Bernardi also picks up a penalty. I'm going to expect that was also the track limits. I couldn't 100% see as Bernardi is quite close to Thomas Golab. As now we're with Richie Tappel. Richie Tappel. Also for Fair Racing Team. He's down in P9. The only thing separating him from his teammate Paul Holt is Dennis van der Ven. And around 5 seconds. In the background, some smaller packs have formed of around 3 or 4 cars. As now we are with Francesco Bernardi. In the background as well, you can see Thomas Golab and also Paul Holt. Ahead for the chicane, Thomas Golab looking up the inside into turn 3 as they go side by side. Paul Holt maybe also looking to capitalise on the slipstream. Thomas Golab not making the move yet, as now Paul Holt is all over the rear of Thomas Golab as he looks up into T4 maybe. Not quite making a move into turn 4. Thomas Golab going off the track. Paul Holt up the inside into turn 5. Thomas Golab also picking up a penalty. I'm going to expect for track limits through turn 4. As he goes side by side with Paul Holt. Paul Holt may be getting some contact on the side of Thomas Golab's car. However, gets ahead as it currently stands of the Team Fruta car. Number 05 of Thomas Golab. We're now with La Sierra. I've noticed that my battle box didn't show up then. Huh? Just gonna have to quickly refresh the overlay. I apologise. It'll all come back in a moment. Or not, the overlay has decided to break itself. How's this happened? Full issue now is that RF2. I have to restart RF2 because of this. We're going to have to switch to a technical difficulty screen at the minute, as RF2 has just decided to have a bit of a problem. Maybe it's returned. Hopefully I'll be able to just quickly get back in and out of the server without causing any issues to any of the drivers. Apologies for this, the R-Factor 2 overlay had just decided to have a bit of a problem. I'm actually going to have to fully close R-Factor 2. Okay, we will be back shortly with the remaining, I think, 50 minutes of the SimRacingMania Hypercar World Series. We're now just loading back in, so visuals will be back shortly. And we are now back. With the SimRacingMania HYPERCAR World Series 2021. And we'll just quickly switch back on the live scene. And 2 should show itself soon. My overlay is still having issues. I'm not 100% sure why either. Currently we're looking at Richie Tapple for Fair Racing Team. I'll see, currently just reloading. The thing. There we are, as Rinaldi Edo comes into the pit lane. Not sure if there is a car problem or if he got a drive-through. Looks like just a drive-through penalty as he's come in and is now coming quickly back out. Salvia, Lapierra and Prasanta having dropped out of the race. We should now be back for the remaining 33 minutes, 30 seconds of today's race. Rinaldi Edo having come in, I believe, P7 and now coming out P13 as with Antti Rassi, who is chasing down at the rear of Lorenzo Capellini. Maybe SimRacingMania's own Flying Finn can catch up and take P2. However, if he manages it, there will then be almost an 8-second gap between himself and Cliff van der Ven. As they come through T12. Now on the run up to turn 1. That also, I believe, is Thomas Golab in the background. Who's currently 1 lap down on the leader. So yeah, that would make sense. That is Thomas Golab in the background as well. That is not Liam Rhodes. And then into turn 3. Lorenzo Capellini defending the inside. Antti Rassi getting the rear out a bit there, it seems. The gap being only around 6 tenths. As we're now with Jos van der Sterren chasing Peter Lane as they go into the hairpin of turn 3. Peter Lane getting the inside. Maybe Jos van der Sterren will be able to cut back. No, slots in behind as they run up to turn 4. Giacomo Attore getting a penalty as well. The track limit seeming to be catching quite a few people foul. Players through turn 4. Jos van der Sterren does not think of a move yet. And the gap almost being a second, though with the slipstream in these cars, that's not very far at all. They run up through turn 9, 10 and 11. We're now back with Antti Rassi on the rear of Lorenzo Capellini. Turn 3 almost managing to get up the inside by the look of it. Very close between Antti Rassi and Lorenzo Capellini. Only 3 tenths between the 2 drivers. Giacomo Attore and Bernardi coming into the pits. Giacomo Attore only going for a drive-through, it seems. Bernardi having stopped, maybe for a refuel. Maybe that was the penalty. I'll keep an eye on that pit time if I can, and we might be able to decipher a little bit more out of it. Antti Rassi has been all over the rear of Lorenzo Capellini for the past few laps. I believe Bernardi is actually in for a stop-go penalty. maybe some damage. Not 100% sure. So now with Giacomo Ettore, who is chasing the rear of Rinaldi Edo as they come up to turn 4. The gap very much does seem to extend through turn 4. Maybe the car behind having to brake a lot more than the car ahead just to avoid going up the rear. These cars having quite a lot of downforce, I believe, makes the grip through the corners quite plentiful. However, it has seemed that some drivers have been able to lose the rear of the car quite easily over curbs and through the apex of corners as well. I have to see, is Giacomo Ettore only about 7 tenths between himself and Edo. They run up through turn 1. They're back now with Antti Rassi still chasing the rear of Lorenzo Capellini. Then I think this is now the 4th lap between the two, as we're with Jos van der Sterren, who is also still chasing the rear of Peter Lane. Quite a few drivers have been looking for moves to be made as it currently stands. Peter Lane having been ahead of Jos van der Sterren for a little while. This is about for 10. This is about for 9th. I'm mistaken, I do apologise. As they run through now, turn 7. Up towards turn 8, Jos van der Sterren 0.7 behind Peter Lane. However, these cars, as I have said, do seem to get quite a lot of speed on the straights and faster corners through slipstream. They now run down to the final corner. Jos van der Sterren still very close, within drafting distance of Peter Lane as they head through T1. You can see how much curb on the inside they take. However, it does seem like it could be easy to collect the sausage curve on the inside and maybe be sent for a little bit of a flying lesson. As into turn 3, Jos van der Sterren not close enough to the rear to even try to make a move, which is smart. It is inviting to look at a dive bomb into turn 3. I can just see it from the camera angles that I get to look at. Head through T4. You can see how much curb on the outside Peter Lane took before going into the corner. Clearly his car might be set up for taking curbs. Making the car wider does allow you to take more curb. The gap's still 0.7 seconds. As now with Stefano Di Nadal going against one of the Team Arctic cars. Team Arctic car of Manuel Pasella. Through turn 3 they were too wide, however not managing to make the move. Now down to a second between himself and Manuel Pasella. The yellow flag appearing in sector 3 as well. Not sure if someone's had an off. The gap now 1.5. So it seems like Stefano Di Nadal is losing time to Manuel Pasella as they go through sector 2 and into sector 3. As they go through turn 9, 10 is there somewhere and 11's there. As that looks like Jos van der Sterren has pulled off to the side. Yes, he has. Jos van der Sterren having gone from P10 down to stopped. Here's Thomas Golab, one of the Team Futa cars, currently in P20, having gotten, I think, a drive-through penalty for track limits infringement outside of turn 4. Heads through turn 1. A lot of curb being taken on the inside. Also quite a bit of curb being taken on the outside as they go past the Ferris wheel. Surprisingly, even though this is a tilt track, I don't see any crazy hotels that he's managed to put anywhere. But maybe the photocopier just couldn't print hotels today. Your leader still Cliff Van der Ven, followed by Lorenzo Capellini, Liam Rance, Paul Holt, Richie Tapper, Dennis Van der Ven, Peter Lane, Rinaldiado, Attore, Antti Rassi, Jack Gordonmania, Shin Fisson, Christoph Wasinski, Margarito, and Richard Brooks round off the top 15. However, this is subject to change. Antti Rassi has just come into the pits. A 44.7 pit stop there as he manages to get out of the pits, losing 2, maybe 3 positions with a 1 minute 6 second all-in-all time. If this was an F1 race, the pit crews would be laughing. Here is now with Manuel Pasella chasing the rear of Richard Brooks. Jos van der Sterren having also dropped out of the race. We did see him pulled off at the side of the road. I'm not sure if he's had setup issues, as in setup in the real world, as I did see that he was just pulled off the side of the road. It didn't look like the car had any damage, as now with Cliff Van der Ven on the rear of Richard Brooks, and also the car behind Richard Brooks, the car of Manuel Pasella. So, as well as Manuel Pasella chasing down Richard Brooks, Cliff Van der Ven is also chasing down Manuel Pasella. Now with Lorenzo Capellini, 9-second gap between himself and Cliff Van der Ven. Quite a high gap to, quite a large gap. Sorry, to cut down, as now with Liam Rance, 3.5 seconds to be made to catch up to Lorenzo Capellini. Also Thomas Golab in the middle of that as well. This being the position held by Antti Rassi, as Thomas Golab moves over for what I believe to be blue flags. That also looks like Kamal moving over as well. Yep, it was. Maybe also, yep, losing the position to Thomas Golab. Also, hello, and in the chat. Sorry, a lot just happened when you dropped in. At the rear, that also looks like Paul Holt. They're lapping Arcturus Kamal as he comes into the pit lane. Manuel Pasella in the pits. Race has been pretty good so far. I had to miss a few minutes of it due to the fact R Factor 2 broadcast overlay decided to just get itself stuck in a refresh loop. As Jos van der Sterren also comes back from DNF at the garage back onto the track. So I'm going to expect that was a small setup issue in the real world that he's had. There's now with Paul Holt on with the blue, silver and orange Fair Racing team. Car number 81 Machine chasing down the back of Liam Rance. 2.4 seconds, sorry, now 2.5 seconds between himself and Rance. Yeah, everything should be good now, I hope. We know that R Factor 2 as a simulator does like to throw us curveballs every now and again. The Arcturus Kamal come out of the pits. We're now with Richard Brooks, who seemed like he went wide through turn 12, at least from the timing. Margarito having been catching up, then overtaking just before I click the switch driver button. Also, that looks like Kamal coming out of the pits too, avoiding a collision with Richard Brooks, holding up the car behind a little bit of Stefano de Nadal, however moving over into turn 3, which is always a good thing. Turn 3 being a good turn to move over on. You get a lot of room through the hairpin. Also, there's a lot of runoff, just in case you don't want to diffuse a 2-car battle through the hairpin. Richard Brooks is having the car ahead of Margarito on away from him very slowly. As now we're Francesco Bernardi, P17, chasing the rear of Fuldetta, who is P16. Oh, as we get an on board from the roof, you can see that even though it's half a second, the cars are so close together. They go through turn 7. And also turn 8. Let's have a bit of a viewer challenge here. Somewhere in this set of corners is turn 10. This is turn 9. This is turn 11. Turn 10 is in there somewhere. As they now head to turn 12. Yellow flag, I think that was in sector 3, but clearing up quite quickly, so I think that might have been a yellow flag for Magariso. As we are now with Jin Fissam down in 19th position. He was quite far up the order. I think battling for P10 at one point. The Bureau International Circuit. Fun fact. Let's have a bit of history while we look at Jin Fissam, who's very much cutting the gap down. Oh, here's Antti Rassi chasing the rear of Jack Gordomania. This track was the first FIA Grade 1 and FIM Grade A listed track in Thailand. And yes, and Francesco Bernardi has also gotten a penalty as Antti Rassi goes up the inside of Gordomania into turn 12. Very easy move, Jack Gordomania moving over to actually allow Antti Rassi to make the move. The track itself was designed by our favourite photocopying wizard, Herman Tilke. However, it doesn't look like a rehashed China, so that's good. As now Antti Rassi heads down into turn 3, a 21-second gap between himself and Giacomo Attore. I mean, I'll be honest, it's a Tilke track. I'm trying to find the stupid architecture, and I can't seem to find it. There's a Ferris wheel, but that's about it. As now with Liam Rance, who's currently in third place. Half a second between himself and Lorenzo Capellini. Almost 2 seconds between himself and Paul Holt, as Jack Gordomania gets a penalty as well. I'll be honest, as Cliff can keep it consistent and clean. He pulled away at the start of the race, and he has been pulling quite a big gap. If he can keep it consistent and clean and not make any mistakes or getting any issues with lapping cars, I think this might be in the bag for him. As we see Richard Brooks there very happily pulling over on the straightest bit of track he could before turn 8. As we now go through turn 9 and 11. But now with Dennis van der Vin. The other Van der Vin. No relation to Cliff van der Vin, who is being chased by Rinaldi Edo, and 5 seconds between himself and Teppel as Rance comes into the pit, giving Paul Holt third place. Here is the number of stops for our drivers. Richard Brooks getting a penalty. Maybe due to how he's moved over in one place. Not 100% sure, as Liam Rance only coming into the pit lane, so I think maybe getting a drive-through penalty. Here are the intermediate times. You can see the small gaps having formed. You can also see the packs having formed as well. Jos van der Sterren having come back on track 5 laps down. Which is clearly not something you want. Maybe setup issues. Maybe just, I'm not 100% sure, as Jos van der Sterren comes into the pit, or he's gone into the pit, maybe dropping out again. No, comes back onto the track as we're now with Krzysztof Rosinski as he heads down into turn 3. Oh, here we go. Francesco Bernardi on Stefano Di Nadal through turn 9, managing to get up the inside. Quite an easy move there by the look of it, absolutely accelerating away. Not sure if Stefano Di Nadal maybe has some damage. As Richard Brooks has come into the pits for his drive-through penalty. This means he's going to lose out to at least Bernardi, maybe even Nadal. Yeah, I think he's going to lose out to Nadal as well. Yes, he is. Drive-through penalty is obviously not something any driver wants. However, At the end of the day, track limits are track limits, and sometimes if you don't fully respect them, you will get a penalty. Liam Rance having also come in for a stop. Now with Cliff van der Ven, our current race leader, as it looks like he's coming up on some lap down traffic. So, yep, that's one of them's Margarito. The other one looks like one of the Arctic racing cars, so possibly Manuel Pasella is now with Lorenzo Capellini, who has Paul Holt chasing him down very heavily on the rear of his car. The gap under a second as they head down towards turn 3. 34 minutes remaining is now with Dino Fordetta. 2.2 seconds between himself and Richard Brooks. Brooks having gone into the pit lane, so Brooks now being overtaken by Dino Fordetta. Fordetta now having to catch up to Lorenzo De Curtis. But with Paul Holt again, we're going to stick with this battle for a little while. And just see, because Paul Holt has been catching up. Wondering who was faster for the last lap. It went to Lorenzo Capellini, but under a tenth separating the two's lap times. Head through the corners. Looks like Paul Holt might be taking the corners a bit slower. The best lap time also being in favour of Lorenzo Capellini. As Lorenzo De Curtis gets a drive-through penalty, I believe, for the track limits once again. The gap between Capellini and Van der Ven being almost 17 seconds. However, we can quite clearly see that Paul Holt is very much on the rear of Lorenzo Capellini. 4.5 tenths off, but that gap is starting to fall as they head down towards turn 3. Into turn 3. Is Paul Holt going to have a look? Not yet. The gap stagnating a little bit. Maybe even cutting down. Now the gap being 2.5 tenths, but it is coming down. As Paul Holt looks to the outside, Lorenzo Capellini is squeezing a little bit. Paul Holt going to the inside around turn 4. Braking, however, as to not overtake yet. So Paul Holt staying behind Lorenzo Capellini for a little while as they head into sector 3. Having been behind now for quite a while, I believe Paul Holt will want to start looking for the opportunities to overtake. He almost had it into turn 4. However, he did pull back. Maybe due to the fact he didn't think Lorenzo Capellini saw him and wanted to avoid Lorenzo Capellini turning into him. As Lorenzo Capellini makes for the pit lane, allowing Paul Holt to get P2 for now. Wondering if Paul Holt has pitted yet. Gonna get the stats, so no one having pitted. Antti Rassi haven't come in, as well as Liam Rance. Peter Lane and Stefano Nadal, sorry, not Stefano Nadal, Bernardi and Fordetta also P16 through P22. So clearly, a lot of drivers have started to pit, as we're now with Paul Holt, who has 18 seconds make up between himself and Cliff van der Ven, also being quite a way in front of Richie Tapple as well as Giacomo Attore, as Dennis van der Ven and Ronaldo head into the pit lane. Cut back now, we're with Shinfisson on the rear of Lorenzo De Curtis. Up towards T4, the gap only 2/10. Now down to 1/10 as Shinfisson looks up the inside in turn 4. Doesn't make the move, gets the rear a bit loose, having to take it onto the apron. Out of turn 4, the gap now being 0.6 seconds, almost having contact. They came millimetres, it seems, from the outside view, as we now have half an hour of the race remaining. Shinfisson currently fighting for for P16 against Lorenzo De Curtis. We'll see how the lap times fall. It seems Shinfisson might be a little bit faster, just looking on the previous lap from the outside. Having the ability to almost look for a move up into turn 4, but not making it. Shinfisson being 2/10 faster than Lorenzo De Curtis on the last lap. So we'll see how it comes, as Shinfisson is 6/10 behind as they head down towards turn 3, but that gap is falling in the slipstream. Through turn 2 now. Head into turn 3. Shinfisson, the gap is coming down between himself and Lorenzo De Curtis as they head up towards turn 4. 0.4 seconds, almost down to 3/10. Oh, as we get a little bit of a hang there. 2/10 as they head through turn 4. Taking again a lot of curb. Not sure if Shinfisson is going to be getting a penalty. It looked from where I was that 2 wheels were still trackside. However, the track limits have been very much on point around the Buriram circuit. The last thing Shinfisson will want after being all over the rear of Lorenzo De Curtis is a penalty. Going to just quickly grab this view. It also looks like Lorenzo De Curtis has had someone go at the back of him. You can see quite a lot of scrapes over the carbon fibre on the rear of his McLaren. Oh, you can see how close Shinfisson has got. Krzysztof Rosinski is the last car. The next car behind Shinfisson, you can also see Lorenzo Cappellini, who has set the fastest lap with 1:22.927 behind Shinfisson, as now the 2 drivers head back down towards the hairpin, defending the inside Lorenzo De Curtis, forcing Shinfisson to go around the outside. They were side by side every minute. Shinfisson almost looking for the cutback, but not managing to get it, as Lorenzo De Curtis held the inside line throughout the entire corner, making that McLaren centre as wide as possible. Now Shinfisson is going to have the outside. No, he goes back to the inside. Almost makes the move work. However, having to drop back to stop taking it, to not take out Lorenzo De Curtis. See behind Cappellini making moves to lap the 2 cars. That's something that Shinfisson maybe didn't want. However, it doesn't look like Lorenzo De Curtis is going to be lapped in a much better place. No. The gap coming down. Maybe Lorenzo De Curtis being lapped in a place that wasn't as beneficial to him as Shinfisson, but a gap now being almost 7/10 as they head up to the final corner. But we've seen Shinfisson, we've seen the speed he has against Lorenzo De Curtis, having been chasing it. It looks like turn 4 is where his hunting ground is. All into turn 1. They get contact on the side. Both drivers having to go off. Lorenzo De Curtis having to get off actually a lot more. Having to actually take to the pit exit. However, managing to get back in front. I'm not sure that was the smartest of moves there by Shinfisson. Looked like he went right up the inside. Through T1 where a gap didn't exist, taking it to the sausage curb and actually having side-on-side contact with Lorenzo De Curtis. Richie Tapple also getting a penalty here, as we now see the 2 drivers head through turn 4 and turn 5. Today as well, the fight between, the commanding performance of Cliff van der Ven has been absolutely astonishing today, having accelerated away at the start and staying there through the entire race. As we're now on Rinaldi Edo against Thomas Golab. Also against Peter Lane in the background there. We can see 3-car battle here for 8th place. Maybe 2-car, depending on if you classify Peter Lane in this battle. Which, yep, it is being classified. You see Rinaldi Edo all over the back of Thomas Golab as they head down into turn 12. Thomas Golab defending the inside. Peter Lane having a look up. They make contact. Peter Lane tapping the rear of Rinaldi Edo. Rinaldi Edo going round into turn 12. Peter Lane did see the gap. The gap was there. But it looked like, let's see if we can get a replay on this, which we can. Yeah, Peter Lane saw the gap, and then Rinaldi Edo just looked back around, and yeah, one thing led to another, and there it was. As Cliff van der Ven has come in for his pit stop, coming out 14 seconds ahead of Lorenzo Capellini. Jos van der Sterren having come in for a pit stop as well. 1 minute and 1 second drive through, it seems. As we're now back with Shinfisson against Lorenzo De Curtis. There's been one of the battles that has absolutely raged on for the previous few laps. Half a second between the two as they head down towards turn 3. Lorenzo De Curtis still ahead of Shinfisson. Shinfisson having looked up the inside a couple of laps ago. But the move not making it. Instead actually maybe causing some damage to the front of his car. Maybe even to the side of Lorenzo De Curtis' car. Not 100% sure. I can't see any visible scratches. And it doesn't seem like their lap times have fallen away either. As now we're with Peter Lane against Thomas Golab. Almost half a second, they head down the straight. It seems no matter how close you are to the car ahead through turn 1, the gap does extend to around half a second before turn 3. However, these cars having a lot of downforce. Also, as I've said, it does seem they gain quite a lot of speed against each other through slipstream. Both Peter Lane and Thomas Golab getting their respective lines. There's a couple of lines really you can take through turn 4. It depends on how confident you are with consistently hitting the absolute max of the track limits. We've seen a lot of drivers managing to get the 2 wheels on the apron absolutely perfectly. As now the gap is 2, 3 tenths, 4 tenths now. But it might start falling down through turn 9, 10 and 11. With a Margarito in the middle there. 2.5 Margaritos. Head through turn 12. Peter Lane looks like he maybe collects the sausage curve a tiny bit on the inside. Now heading down the straight. 21 minutes, 20 seconds remaining. Cliff van der Ven having set now the best lap time, as now we're with Giacomo Attore on the rear of Rinaldi Edo. Edo going very wide through turn 3. Maybe a track limits infringement. We'll see how it fares. Now Richie Tapple on the back of Dino Fraudetta, getting the inside into turn 3. The move having been made at the minute. Maybe Dino Fraudetta being able to come back. No. Richie Tapple defending the inside in case of that move as they head up the straight. Half a second now separating the 2 drivers, but it is falling down as they head through turn 4. Both drivers getting through quickly. It seemed like Dino Fraudetta got through turn 4 quicker. But losing time through turn 5. So, clearly a bit of back and forth there. As now we're on with Peter Lane again on the rear of Thomas Golab. Thomas Golab looking to get the car a little bit uneasy through turn 12. Staying ahead at the minute, the gap being 2-3 tenths as they head through turn 1. As I said before, it does seem that the gap comes anywhere between 4 tenths and half a second through turn 1 on the run down to turn 3 now. Very close. Peter Lane having to actually put the wheels straight as to not hit the rear of Thomas Golab's car. Gap now 0.2 as they head through turn 4. Peter Lane having to be earlier on the brakes. As ahead we can also see the smoke as it looks like Thomas Golab locks up. Yellow flag in sector 3. Wonder what's happened there. It does seem to clear up very quickly. As now we're with Giacomo Ettore again fighting the back of Reynaldi Edo. You can also see ahead Peter Lane chasing the rear of Thomas Golab as well. As we now switch back to the fight that's still raging on between Lorenzo De Curtis and Stin Fissen. This battle having gone on for quite a long time. Stin Fissen never really, at least I've seen, being more than a second behind Lorenzo De Curtis. Very much harassing the rear of that number 6. I'd say that's green, grey and white car. Stin Fissen maybe just summing up where to make the move. He did try into turn 1 a couple of laps ago. But that didn't go, I think, entirely to plan. As Stin Fissen almost loses the car completely through turn 12. Now opening the door to Jack Gordemania as they run down to turn 1. Stin Fissen on the inside, Jack Gordemania on the outside. As Stin Fissen going for a drift again, loses the car into turn 1. Keeps out of the wall, however, the sand very much slowing the car down. Maybe it was just tyres that had started to fall away. Manuel Pasella also picking up, I believe, a drive-through penalty, probably for track limits. As now Peter Lane down the inside against Thomas Golab through turn 12. Thomas Golab having to go quite deep off the track. They're now side by side as they run down to turn 1. Peter Lane ahead, manages to defend the outside through the corner from Thomas Golab. Thomas Golab looking to get the front of the car actually unsettled through turn 1. Loses P7 to Peter Lane, but it might not be the end of the discussion as they run down to turn 3. Thomas Golab looking on the inside, also having to defend from Reynaldi Edo. Peter Lane, however, defending the inside, very quickly shutting the door on Thomas Golab. Lorenzo Capellini having come into the pit lane. Paul Holt now inheriting second place. Very close racing here. Thomas Golab losing time now to Peter Lane. However, also sort of stagnating between himself and Reynaldi Edo. You can also see Stefano de Nadal in the background too. He's not involved in this battle, but he is here. Thomas Golab having to go off on turn 1 and take to the pit lane. Might track limit infringement him for that. As now with Jack Gordemania fighting on the rear of Lorenzo De Curtis, a driver who had been under attack by Jim Fizen for the last easily 10-20 minutes. Now under attack from Jack Gordamania. Only really getting about 2 or 3 minutes of breathing room before being under attack once again. As they run down towards turn 1. Curtis taking more curb, it seems. We get the 1v1 battle box back. The last lap, Jack Gordamania 6 tenths faster than Lorenzo De Curtis through the previous lap. What about their best lap? The best lap also falling in favour of Jack Gordamania of 2.5 tenths, almost faster than Lorenzo De Curtis' best lap. Now the gap being almost 2 tenths as they head through turn 4. Jack Gordamania bouncing over the curb. I don't think he extended track limits there, as it looks like Lorenzo De Curtis goes wide. Stays ahead, but now the gap is very tight between the two drivers. 2.5, 3, 4 tenths as they head up towards turn 7 and turn 8. Through turn 7, now through turn 8. The gap being just under half a second. Almost under 3 tenths. As they now run down towards turn 12. The gap being 2.5 tenths. Almost looking up the inside, Jack Gordamania having to brake quite hard, going deep as to avoid the rear end of Lorenzo De Curtis' car, having already had someone go up the rear of it by the looks of things. This is the battle for P14. Here is Lorenzo De Curtis, the man who is having to defend from Jack Gordamania, which he has been doing an absolutely stonewall job of defending for now. Closing the door wherever he can, keeping Jack Gordamania behind, having already spent at least the previous 20 minutes keeping Jim Fizen behind. Top 3 now being Cliff Van Der Veen, Paul Holt and Lorenzo Capellini. Cliff Van Der Veen, I don't think, unless a brick wall does appear in his way, I don't think he is going to be losing this lead. He's almost 23 seconds ahead of Paul Holt. Paul Holt is in turn almost 17 seconds ahead of Lorenzo Capellini. As Fulvetta comes into the pits. We're now with Giacomo Ettore, who is chasing the rear of Thomas Golab. Thomas Golab having lost a position both to Peter Lane and Ryan Aldiedo. Possibly having had a spin, as Francesco Bernardi also picks up a track limit penalty. So it does seem the track limits have been very much on the side of penalising the drivers today. As Giacomo Ettore almost looks around the outside into turn 1. Thomas Golab defending the inside now as they head down towards turn 3. Turn 2 is there. As there seems to be a lap car going off track. Thomas Golab getting the inside around the hairpin. Maybe a cutback is in store for him. No, making that McLaren Senna hypercar very, very long as Thomas Golab spins round at the exit of the hairpin. What happened? So we've seen a lap car go off. Them head through the hairpin. Was there contact? There is contact between Thomas Golab and I think that's Giacomo Ettore. So Thomas Golab, having been spun on the exit of the hairpin, I jinxed it earlier by saying that it would be easy for that to happen. And would you believe it? It does happen as we now switch back to the fight on Lorenzo De Curtis against Jack Gordon-Mania. This being a battle that has absolutely raged on. I even said earlier that, you know, it would be bound to happen at some point as Valerio Margarito gets a track limit penalty as well. Yeah, I did say it was bound to happen at some point. It's just one of those things where you might not see as Jack Gordon-Mania's picked up a track limit penalty. So very much diffusing the battle here of Lorenzo De Curtis versus Jack Gordon-Mania. Obviously not something that Gordon-Mania wanted to see. Is he going to take it this lap? No, Jack Gordon-Mania opting not to take it this lap. Possibly a drive-through penalty, but that is clearly not the thing you'd want to see. As now with Richie Tapple chasing the back of Francesco Bernardi. Almost half a second between the two cars. Richie Tapple being almost really up the rear of Francesco Bernardi through the straight. Is now getting very close through turn 9, 10 and 11. Maybe a move in order down towards turn 12. See, did have a look, but didn't quite make the move yet. Eight and a half minutes remaining. I think it might be quite safe to say at this point that Cliff Van der Ven has got this one. I think maybe the top three being quite safe in their positions. As the gap between Van der Ven and Holt being 22 seconds, the gap between Holt and Cappellini being 16 seconds, the gap between Cappellini and Rance being around 9 seconds or thereabouts. As we are still with Richie Tapple as they come through turn 7 and turn 8. That looks like Margarito ahead as well, so that was going to be hopefully they'll get to Margarito in hopefully on one of the straights where it's easier for a blue flagged car to defend, as I think that looks like Gordon-Mania going into the pits. No. Does Margarito dive into the pits? Yes, he does. That's Dylan Fraudetta going into the pits. Sorry, my mistake. As Richie Tapple almost looks into turn 1. Maybe, however, not managing to take as much curb as he might have wanted through turn 1. The gap now being just under 4 tenths. Now 3.5. Down to 2.5 as they head into turn 3. Richie Tapple looking at the inside against Francesco Bernardi. Too wide as they run up towards the straight. Francesco Bernardi having the overlap to manage to get ahead on the straight. Fully ahead now as they head up towards turn 4. Richie Tapple will have to brake earlier, which he does. The gap now extending almost to half a second, but coming back down through turn 5. Richie Tapple having lost some ground between turn 6 and turn 8, which we're coming through now. Now the gap is hovering around a second, but it is starting to fall through 9, 10 and 11 on the run up to turn 12. 5 minutes, 50 seconds remaining on the clock. Your current race leader is Cliff Van der Ven, followed by Paul Holt, followed by Lorenzo Cappellini, as Bernardi goes into the pit lane, promoting Richie Tapple to third place, sorry, not to third place, to 10th place. My mistake, as we're now with Reynaldo chasing down Peter Lane, the gap being around a second, more or less. Jack Gordamania here coming in for, I think, what is his drive-through penalty. Look to be a bit on the mark for track limits. However, the penalty does stand and it is a drive-through penalty. Though only taking 18.5 seconds, but that has really allowed Lorenzo De Curtis to gain, I think, the much-awaited breathing room with 4 minutes 43 remaining as Gordamania gets released right into the path of Shin Fisson on the run down to turn 3. Shin Fisson getting the inside. These two drivers having been attacking De Curtis together for around half an hour. Now fighting each other as Jack Gordamania gaining ground on Shin Fisson as they run through turn 4. Shin Fisson losing the rear. Does he keep out of the wall? No, he doesn't. What happened here? I like the R button in R Factor because it allows me to go back and see a quick replay. So if I do catch it, it does help. We see, oh, it just looks like he loses the back. We'll see if we can get a view from the hood. Yeah, you can see he just loses the back. Jack Gordamania does his best to avoid it, and does avoid it after all. So, I think that was probably not what Shin Fisson would have wanted, as now with Stefano Nadal chasing the rear of Richard Brooks. Today's race has definitely been a good one as Lorenzo Cappellini drops out of the session from 3rd place. So Liam Rance getting the promotion to 3rd place. I think that solidifies Paul Holt's safety in 2nd with almost a 29-second gap between himself and Liam Rance. Here is your current race leader, Cliff van der Ven, almost 24 seconds ahead of Paul Holt in 2nd place. So I think with 2.5 minutes remaining on the clock, Cliff van der Ven is quite safe today for the race win. However, 2 minutes is a long time. It will be about 2, maybe 3 laps left in today's race. As now we're with Reynaldo chasing the rear of Peter Lane. I think that's Krzysztof Rosinski in the middle of it all there as well. Peter Lane, the purple number 14 car, you can see just ahead, almost 6/10 separating the two drivers. They head into turn 1. Yellow flag appears in sector 2. Gets cleared quickly, so it might have been signed up at turn 4. Maybe someone going wide, maybe someone pulling off. Not 100% sure. And keep in mind, remember, I will be here each week commentating the SimRacingMania HYPERCAR World Series. So make sure to follow and turn on all the notifications and that's some such. My YouTube channel also at That Husky. So if you want to watch any of the race replays, typically uploaded onto YouTube around 3 or 4 hours after the race itself, it will all be available over there. As we now see Reynaldo still trying to chase the rear of Peter Lane. However, it does seem that Peter Lane gains time through Sector 2 and Sector 3. Maybe even gaining more than what he loses through Sector 1. Ronaldo retiring into the pit lane. Not retiring, wrong choice of words there. Coming into the pit lane, looks like a drive-through penalty. The drive-through penalties having grabbed a lot of drivers tonight. As now we're with Stefano Di Nadal chasing the rear of Richard Brooks. A lot of smoke through turn 1, so it looked like there was a lock-up as the clock comes down to 0. And there's contact! Was that Ronaldo coming out across of Stefano Di Nadal? They go through Richie Tapple, managing to get through that as well. Here is your current race leader, Cliff van der Ven. Going through turn 7 and turn 8 for the last time. Through turn 7. Now through turn 8. An absolutely commanding drive for tonight's race leader. And soon, hopefully, to be race winner. I very much expect he's hoping to get through turn 12 without much, if any, hesitation, and then across the line comes Cliff van der Ven to take the win at today's race. Cliff van der Ven coming across, take a very commanding victory, I think, leading from start to finish. And now as we see the rest of the drivers starting to come across the line. What a race that has been tonight. Cliff van der Ven having absolutely accelerated away with it as we see her come in the background go very deep into turn 12. A lot of very, very long drawn out battles with some very intense overtakes. Just now going to wait for the rest of the drivers to come across the finish line. Here with Margarito. I believe that's going to be everyone with no movement around. So, coming in first place is Cliff van der Ven, followed by Paul Holt, Liam Rance, Antti Rassi, Richie Tapple, Ronaldo. Oh, wait there. The game's still having a bit of unhappy. Give it a sec. Done? So. It's fifth. Let's read as I see it. So, Cliff van der Ven finishing in first, followed by Paul Holt, Liam Rance, Antti Rassi, Dennis van der Ven, Peter Lane, Richie Tapple, Ronaldo, Giacomo Attore, Francesco Bernardi, Thomas Golab, Lorenzo De Curtis, Jack Gordamania, Jin Fisson, Christoph Rosinski, Richard Brooks, Stefano Di Nadal, Dino Fuldetta, Manuel Pasella, Valerio Margarito, Lorenzo Cappellini, Actress Kamal, Jos van der Sterren, and then the cars that didn't make it fully to, I think, full race classification were Antonio Mastro, Mario Salvia, Giuseppe Lapatiera, and Yuda Prasanta. So we'll see if any of the drivers, any of the top three, as they have an exam tomorrow, so I can't interview everyone. Tonight I'm going to just try to get the top three in. We're just going to wait for some of the drivers to jump in. I should really have a post-race interview. And someone has jumped in. Ah, Thomas Golab. Hello, Thomas.
Hello, Ross. How are you?
After that, very intense race. You seem to maybe have a bit of issues towards the end, maybe with tyres. I saw the car starting to get quite a bit unsettled.
I think that was like different problem even than tires. The thing is that everything started with my drive-through in the first stint. Or maybe let's start that everything started with soft tires that didn't work with my setup completely. So I decided to start on them to do longer stint on mediums, which were much better for me. Oh, and then everything went wrong. Basically, on the first stint, I had drive-through, and then I pitted early for mediums, and that was big mistake because I went out right behind anti-racing. I think P3, P4, something like that. So I had a lot of blue flags, which slowed me down completely. And I think that was the biggest mistake. Then Giacomo Ettore just spun me out when we were fighting for like P8, P7. My car was ruined totally, so nothing for me to do. I think one of my worst races I ever remember.
Well, in the championship, you're currently third before we started today's race, finishing I think 11th tonight. Do you think that's going to be quite detrimental to your season, or do you think you can quickly come back from it?
The only good thing is that Lorenzo De Cutis, which was leading the championship, finished behind me, one position behind me. So that's not bad. I think Liam Rens will like have big lead right now. It will be for sure tricky to gain on him. He is fast, but Adelaide should be good place for me. I like this track, so I hope I can recover from this one. The most important thing will be to finish in top 3 in all next races. If that will happen, everything should be okay.
Finish in the top 3. Cliff van der Ven having very much come from, I think, I can't remember if he was in the last race, but very much taking a commanding victory tonight. Do you reckon he's going to be one to watch for the rest of the season if you want to finish in that top 3 spot? Yes, no?
Sorry, connection issues. Can you repeat?
Cliff van der Ven having come very much to make a commanding victory.
Yeah. Okay, so Cliff can win every race he's starting in. So we have to say that he can finish easily in top 3 if he will win every race that it's in front of us. But his gap now will be around like 44 points, or maybe less, maybe 42 points. So it's a lot. If Liam Rans, for example, will finish in top 3 in every race, I think it's impossible to catch him. It all depends on us, not Cliff, right now.
Awesome. I don't know if anyone else is going to be joining in. The chat seems a little bit dead at the minute. Michael Brooks has jumped in. Hello, Michael.
Hi, Husky. So I can race tonight. My pedal plate has come. Well, I was trying to fix my pedal plate today, and I kind of snapped the bolt in half. So I was literally got to enjoy the race from the sidelines today.
Yeah, that's not so DIY gone a bit wrong, I think, tonight. Then
it's more like I turned into the Incredible Hulk, put it that way. I literally snapped it from sheer force. So.
Great. Do you reckon that's going to be detrimental to your season?
Well, it's not going to help. But hopefully I should be able to fix it tomorrow when I get the new bolt. But it's been a long and needlessly annoying story. Let's put it that way. I'll let Peter talk about his race.
All right, awesome. Thanks for that, Michael. Hello, Peter. Finishing in 5th tonight.
Hello. Yeah, not a bad result for me, to be honest.
Looked like you were being chased for a little bit of the race. Also chasing, I think it was Thomas towards the ending of the race. Anyone you've really had a good battle with tonight? Anything like noteworthy from your side?
To be honest, I think I had someone behind me throughout the race. So at the beginning, I had Lorenzo pretty much on the rear bumper for the first half of the race. So that was quite challenging to stay relaxed and not make any mistakes. And then after the pit stop, going on to softs, I could see that Thomas was going quite slow, which is very unusual. So I kept pushing to catch him up. So caught Thomas up in towards the last corner, but there was another driver who was in between the two of us. And unfortunately, I made some contact with him. I forced him to spin. But with the speed that Thomas was going, the guy managed to recover it and catch us both back up pretty quickly. But other than that, it was the nice little dive bomb I had to do on Thomas to to force the pass as I was quickly destroying my tyres. But no, good race. Really enjoyed that one.
Yeah, to be honest, I was surprised with that dive bomb because there was yellow flag, and I just slowed down because of that. But yeah, that was good fight. I had to defend really, really hard. My tires were old already because I pitted like 60 minutes left into the race. So I had like maybe 65% on my tires, medium tires. So it was hard to defend, really hard to defend. Good fight anyway. I just can say that I'm really sad that we couldn't fight more due to my crash with Giacomo.
To be honest, Thomas, didn't fight at all. I just wanted to get past you.
Yeah, I'm trying to do my best when defending. Trying to make your life as hard as possible.
Well, the next race at Adelaide, if Adelaide's anything like I remember it, it will be the track making life hard for overtakes as well as the drivers. Definitely going to be a good race to watch out for next week. So thank you, Peter, for that. Paul coming through to finish in second.
Yeah, I'm pretty pleased with that. Started at 8th or 9th, I think, and finished in P2. I'm happy.
So do you reckon, I think really when the drive-through penalty came for Cappellini behind, then he retired. After that, I'm guessing at that point you sort of thought, I'm completely safe now in second place.
Yeah. He had, did he retire?
Yeah, I think he retired like
Oh, okay.
about 5 minutes before the end.
Okay. Yeah, I was gaining on him, so yeah, I was pretty sure I could have catch him anyway. So I think.
And currently you were fourth in the championship after Kialami, finishing second. What do you think your chances? How do you think you're going to place overall in the season?
Not on P1. P1 is going to be Cliff, I think.
You think that he will catch everyone after not participating in the first race?
Yeah, I
the
think
gap
so.
is pretty big. So even if he will win every race and you will be in top 4, it will be impossible, I think.
Then let's get my hopes up to P1 then.
Yeah, you are lucky that I had bad race. Yeah, but Antti, I think, will be also pretty close. He had like his PC died in the last corner.
Oh,
before
really?
The finish
Oh,
line. Yes.
that happened. Oh.
Yeah, and he finished P6, I think, if I'm right.
Yeah, I can't remember because my results thing was saying that he was tied with Dennis van der Ven for fourth.
Wait, I would check.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, on live timing, he's classified in P6 right now. Yeah, because Richie was lap behind, yes. So he will be P6.
Awesome.
Yeah, I only had two cut tracks, so that's good.
Lucky you.
Awesome. Thanks for coming to speak to me, Paul and Thomas, and also Michael and Peter Lane, who's left the channel. So that's where I'm going to call tonight's broadcast from me and everyone at SimRacingMania. Thank you for tuning in to the end. I've been Husky, and goodbye.